Before there ever was a Game Boy or a Game Gear or a PlayStation Portable or any of those fancy new handheld devices like a Nintendo Switch, long, long ago, back in 1982, there was the very first interchangeable cartridge portable video game system. And it was called the Milton Bradley Microvision. Here it is. This is all the way back from 1982, everybody. And so this game here, it came with this one cartridge, Blockbuster, which was basically a version of Breakout. Back then in 1982, did it have the fancy graphics that we see nowadays? Of course not. Did it have the pretty cool but not exactly modern graphics of the Game Boy? Definitely not. So what does it have? Why would anybody want to purchase something like this back in 1982? Because it was the best thing going for it at the time. So in 1982, there were no other players, contenders for an interchangeable cartridge game system. This was the only one. And yes, you could play not just Breakout, this Blockbuster game, but 10 other games as well. And I'm going to show you each and every one of these. So yeah, I have two semi-working Microvisions right here. And yeah, here's one and here's the other. And so I say that they're semi-working because they do turn on, but the thing is, these game systems suffer from like old age, basically. And the three things that could die on it are, okay, so static discharge is one. So apparently when some people play their game system, they can build up a static charge and it could like fry the components inside their handheld game system. Another one is screen rot. And that means that over time, this LCD display just gets really bad. It turns, all the pixels turn from silver to black, as you see here. It's gotten to such a state where I can't even see some of the gameplay on the screen anymore. I can see certain numbers when they show up, but when I'm trying to play the game, this screen rot interferes with my gameplay, so that's unacceptable. So yeah, this is like weird. And another thing is the paddle controller gets like really messed up too. And maybe a fourth thing is the older systems, like my original 1982 one, has two 9-volt battery slots. And if you leave your batteries in here for too long, something happens. Something goes dreadfully wrong, and it could overheat the system. So that's not good. So what they did in the revised version of the Microvision is they took out the contacts in the second port to prevent the overheating. So yeah, and it works just as well with just a single port, apparently. It runs for about 48 hours before the battery dies, and that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do, everybody, is the reason why I brought this up, this whole game system, is because it's the first game system, first interchangeable game system, that is. And also another thing is, you could actually upgrade this. So I found out through like some internet sleuthing that you could actually replace this LCD screen. It's going to cost a lot of money, but it might be worth it, especially for nostalgic reasons. Now, I love this game system. I've owned several of these over the years. This is my original one, and it happens to have the best version of a somewhat working paddle controller compared to this. This one here, the one that I bought as like my backup, somehow the paddle controller is recessed, so somebody got really angry at this, I think, and just punched it in or something. It doesn't stick out as much as the other one does, as you see here, so something happened to it. But anyway, the repair service is going to replace the screen to a backlit screen. Pretty darn cool. They're also going to fix my paddle controller. I think they're going to basically just replace it. And they're also going to clean any contacts inside there, remove the secondary battery port contacts so there's no overheating problem, and basically do some other niceties to fix this up and make this like new. So that's pretty cool. And it's going to cost a pretty penny to do this. $300. The game system itself, the list price was $49.95. And this was a, I will say that this is a price from 1982. So back then, $49.95 converts to nowadays about $220. So yeah, it's like buying a Nintendo Switch, right? So this was the Nintendo Switch from a long time ago. And so $49.95 got you basically the Nintendo Switch from like back then in 1982. Yeah, so what else does this play besides Blockbuster? So I'm going to show you what Blockbuster looks like. As you see, the graphics are terrible, right? So it's like a 16 by 16 LCD display. Right? So you can't do some awesome graphics on this, but the gameplay is where it's at. So here's the thing. A lot of you know that like Nintendo games, for example, they were not graphically superior to Sega Genesis games, right? But a lot of people like Nintendo more so because the games were more fun to play on that system than the Sega Genesis. So it's like that. It's like, what do you want? Do you want gameplay or do you want super cool graphics? And back then, right? When the two systems were colliding, it was like one or the other. Like people would rather play the fun stuff with Mario and Kirby versus whatever the coolest, snazziest graphics games are on the Genesis. I guess it was Sonic at the time. I think there were plenty of fans of Sonic, but apparently there were more fans of Mario. So anyway, other games on this system, of which there are 10 more, include bowling. So bowling did not use the paddle controller. You basically used these buttons right here. And I'm going to show you what it looks like underneath this. So here it is. Underneath you see the LCD display. You see the button pads. So here, these overlays basically covered up part of this sponge pad, right? So there's actually, There's 12 buttons on here. There are 12 like pressure sensitive buttons. And so when you cover some of them up like this, you basically have access to only those buttons that are visible on the game cartridge. And like I said, some games did not use this paddle control at all. So all you would need to do is use these buttons right here. And there were games that allowed you to move up, down, left, and right using just the buttons. So let's talk a little bit about these buttons. They're sponge press, right? So you don't really feel like a click, right? So you feel sponge. When you press down on it, it feels like sponge. So the big problem with this is these holes are kind of smallish on the smaller side. And for me, I'm okay with like my thumb pad could fit inside here because I have smaller fingers. But if you have larger fingers and long nails, you can actually ruin the membrane right there. And yeah, there's no way to fix that, right? So the membrane will get all these detents. So my friends would play this and they'd have like skinny fingers but long nails, and they would just like dig right into the plastic overlay and cause these detents right here, and that was just terrible. So there's nothing that you can do to fix this, unfortunately. So yeah, but bowling was one of these things where you had the 10 pins, and you don't need any like superior graphics to show 10 pins, it's just 10 big dots, right? And you've got this ball that sweeps back and forth, and you just time it, and you press the bowl button, and it shoots the ball up. That's it, that's the game. So it's basically a game of timing, and you have to know where and when to time the ball. That's basically it. There's nothing about, I don't think there is, there's nothing about like swerving the ball to one side. Like it wasn't so sophisticated that you can use the paddle control to direct the ball. So yeah, these are simple games. These are simple times, 1982. It's like basically the Neanderthal times for video games. Simple times yield simple games, but they were fun to play. Very, very fun. So I'm going to show you some of the other games. They all came in separate packages, separate boxes. So each of these games were 1999, I think, or 1995 for each of these games. And so, yeah, they included things like baseball. Now, there's nothing on the back of the box here that describes what the game is, but I'm going to show you what the original packaging would look like. So here is Cosmic Strike right here. And again, nothing in the back here. But if you got an unopened one, you get this card back. And the card back actually shows what the game looks like. So there you go. So you see a bunch of dots on the screen. You see something moving on here. So it describes the game right here, Cosmic Hunter. So you might think to yourself, well, that looks kind of boring. There's just dots on the screen. Yeah, but the dots mean something, right? So you have to kind of like read what's going on. It says here, the chase is on. Your hunter, H, and they have a little H right here for this dot, stalks an alien creature, C. Move your hunter in close to fire. You hit a creature. An alien creature attacks you. You lose a hunter. So it's a cat and mouse kind of chase game in an obstacle field. Pretty cool, right? So a lot of you might be thinking, that's so simplistic and stupid that it can't be fun. But these games were really fun. So here, this is an unopened Cosmic Hunter. I have an open one and an unopened one. This right here is going for about $130 on eBay, and the price just keeps going up. If you basically just don't open it, it's going to be worth a lot of money. So they have people selling Star Trek Phaser Strike for more than $130. So it's pretty cool. So other games include Alien Raiders and Sea Duel, a submarine battleship type game. And I'm going to show you some of the other cartridges here, including the ones I just mentioned. Here's baseball with an overlay of a baseball diamond. So again, the graphics are simple, right? Your players are represented by pixels. 16 pixels by 16 pixels, so you're one big black square on each when you move around on this overlay. And what more do you need than that, right? So players come up to bat, the ball goes from the pitcher's mound to where you bat the ball, and then you time it appropriately, and yeah, then you see your players moving around the bases on here. And so, yeah, it's like very simple. They've stripped down the game to its barest elements. Graphics-wise, it's so simple, but fun to play. Very, very cool. So here is Alien Raiders right here, and you see there's 3 different fire buttons here. There's Star Trek Phaser Strike, which is nothing more than like a shooting gallery target practice kind of thing, but I guess they licensed the Star Trek name, so that's why this cartridge in its unopened form, and even its open form here, is worth a lot of money. There's also Connect 4. Milton Bradley owns Microvision, so they also own the rights to Connect 4. So this was a very good version of Connect 4. So each of the discs that went into these slots here were made of 2 pixels by 2 pixels. So one player had like an all 4 solid pixeled disc, and another player had like 2 of the pixels filled in, so like half filled. So you get like the different quote-unquote colors of discs that way in Connect 4. Then there's Vegas slots. This is probably the most graphically intense game that's on the Microvision. So each of these fruits that are in the slot machine are made up of what? I think it's 3 by 3 dots, so 9 pixels. And you can get really creative making different designs, like apples, oranges, and whatever things, using 3 by 3 pixels. It's pretty cool. So we have the aforementioned Cosmic Hunter, which is the cat and mouse chase. Sea Duel, and you see here we've got a move and fire set of buttons right there. Another copy of Alien Raiders. Pinball. So Pinball has also this overlay here, and you see the bumpers right there. Let me see if you can see it right there. Yes. So 4 red circles for the bumpers, and not bumpers, but they're the targets that you hit the ball on. So it might seem monotonous to try to hit those same 4 things over and over and over again, but trust me, it's fun. And lastly, there's Mindbuster, which is a logic game. So pretty darn cool, yeah. So yes, I am going to send one of my Microvision consoles to this guy in Virginia, and he does these repairs, and yeah, we'll see what happens. And then I'll give you all a review of the work that he did, and we'll even get some gameplay in there, yeah. So everybody, if you like this video, please slam the like button, subscribe to my channel. You'll see more videos just like this one. Until next time, everybody, see you, bye.